fans, I think, can sense it right now.
To go, inbound to Weatherspoon with one. Weatherspoon puts up the three. It's no good!
The Liberty Flames are still dancing.
Fan the Flames to the biggest victory in school history.
Georgia to inbound, gets to the AC. Deep three, pull up. He banked it in! He banked it in!
Shot at the buzzer. Good! It's good! It's good! It's Woodward!
Larry Blair, reverse layup, up and in, and he's fouled.
Man, you talk about degree of difficulty.
With two, Georgie at the buzzer. Got it! He got it!
Darius McGee, a game for the ages.
And Liberty wins 4 games in the Big South Tournament to take home the 2013 crown.
Look at Bio Baxter now.
25 for Colin Porter.
Holmesley, splash!
Shiloh Robinson with an effort play.
And Liberty keeps on coming.
A huge basket by Kyle Rode.
Got it! Pacheco with the 3.
Liberty, put your dancing shoes on.
Well, hey, what's going on? Welcome to the ASOR Red Basketball Podcast. Nick Kirby joined alongside my pal Will Matthews. Going to talk some Flames hoop after a pretty good weekend overall for Liberty. We'll get to all of that in a second. We got the legend Paul Nazigan joining us tonight. Can't wait to talk Naz. Just the absolute best. I'm really excited to talk to Naz, kind of get his thoughts because Naz only had to call 1 game so far, and it hasn't even been a D1 game. So the Liberty fans have kind of been cheated so far on that. But excited to have Naz. I'll have him out about 10 minutes or so. Before we get to all that, Will, I know you're running on fumes, so I know without a shadow of a doubt that you filled up that cup with some overflowing ironclad coffee tonight.
I didn't tonight. I had to go with a little prime here tonight.
Dion.
I've got some ironclad on the way, some bare knuckle little bag. So, I'll be able to fuel up a little bit more here in a couple of days, I hope.
Yeah, he's a reverend because you're supposed to lie on ad reads. But he holds true to his principles. So you know what? You have to respect that. But in all seriousness, Ironclad Coffee, great supporter of ASOR Red, great supporter of all things Liberty sports. You can do online orders, ironcladcoffee.com. Great gifts for Christmas, Will, right? I mean, this will be something, great to get the coffee lovers, some real authentic coffee.
Yeah, man. If whether you want the whole bean and, go through that experience of doing the grind yourself, which is what I like to do. So get a little whole bean. My wife enjoys it. I enjoy it. Or if you just want to get the ground already, it's still just as good. And so they've got, a variety, a number of different flavors, types of coffee that is just, it's really good coffee.
Very good stuff. Ironcladcoffee.com. Be sure, as always, to check them out. All right. Well, Will, we said a week ago, if Liberty split over the weekend, we'd be happy. Not only did they split, but they absolutely blew out the home team, and the other the other game was a loss in overtime. So I think anyone that is upset about the weekend or disappointed, I just think that's some pretty unrealistic expectations. A really good weekend for Liberty basketball.
Yeah, for sure. And it's still so early in the season with the team trying to find its identity. I mean, it seems to be quickly coming together, but there's still a lot of season left. Kind of what you're getting in Florida Atlantic and College of Charleston. So very happy with the split. I knew you would say that you were happy with the split. We talked about how these are a couple of games that can matter later on. Right now, Valparaiso is not helping us. They're losing to Lindenwood. So grabbing one of 2 of these games was something that may prove to be helpful later on.
Yeah, Valparaiso stinks. I mean, I'm sorry. I saw that. I saw those guys walking right past our broadcasting truck, and I was like, yeah, that team is going to struggle. And the team that Florida Atlantic beat, Indiana State, might be worse than Valparaiso. So it is not going to be a good year for the bottom of the Missouri Valley Conference. But I'm sure that's not why you're here, is to talk about the bottom of the Missouri Valley Conference. But yeah, so let's talk first about Florida Atlantic. I know, Will, you didn't get to watch this whole game, doing some pastoral duties. Definitely a game that got away from Liberty. I mean, Liberty had a 22-10 lead, 75% win probability, if you're into that kind of thing, at one point in the first half. But just in the second half, it was ice cold shooting, 1 for 12 from 3 in the second half. It's one that got away. The next day certainly washes most of it away. But I don't know, like, this was one of those games, like, Liberty got really good looks in the second half. It wasn't like they were, I know people talk about, live by the 3, die by the 3. I don't feel like they were jacking up bad threes. Just sometimes they don't fall.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I did not get to see the game. I know this might not mean much to you, Kirby, but maybe if our boy Ray is watching or watching later, I had dinner with Nikita Koloff that night, the Russian Nightmare wrestling legend. So, I didn't want to, be rude, be checking the score, but hey, we got Naz on tonight. I got to catch up on the NASCAR podcast and just hear a little bit about their take of the game. And it sounded like, even with the poor shooting performance in the second half, those shots were still there. The defense allowed us to be in this game, even if some of the shots weren't falling in the second half enough to get to overtime. So that's still encouraging to know. Last year we kind of saw some of that, like at times shots were there and they just weren't falling. And at other times, like, there was just too much coverage on, Caden to get good shots off. So, not a loss that I'm sad about. Very happy that we stuck with a very good Florida Atlantic program.
Yeah, and in this game, Keno was really good early in this game. Athene made some really big shots. Colin Porter had a really good first half. I know that the broadcasting crew actually said that he was the player of the game in the first half, struggled a little bit in the second half. This was a really tough game. I'm trying to make sure I got his name right. Moffmer, Javion Moffmer. He had a really tough game in this one, but bounced back in a big way in the next game against Charleston. Struggled shooting. The biggest positive, though, was Talon Peter in this game. He just comes in and gives Liberty, I think, some really good quality minutes. He's kind of like a shot in the arm. He's a little bit, I think, more athletic, but he kind of reminds me of Keenan Gums. Kind of came in as a transfer that was a senior, kind of an instant impact. But every time you brought in Gums, you knew you were going to get quality minutes, however long McKay stuck with them.
Yeah, and that was a great team that Gums was on. Team that his 1 year around, they went to the round of 32. So he seems to be the spark plug. Maybe first guy off the bench right now. 13 points, 3 of 6. I mean, his defense looks pretty good. Looks like he fits right in with that pack line. To me, anyway, at least kind of an untrained eye on that. But his offense looks like it's the real deal.
Yeah. And then real quick, the game that really, I think, got us all pumped up, feeling good. Yeah. Liberty just blew the doors off of Charleston, 68-47. Zach Cleveland, it was, I know I watched the post game, and I know Cleveland said, I was just playing my game. I was like, there's no way. Someone got in his ear before the game and said, we need you to be more aggressive, because it was a totally different Zach Cleveland. And, Zach is an incredible passer, an incredibly unselfish player, things you can't teach. But at times, maybe he's a little too passive, and he was not in this one. And Charleston had no answer. Isaiah Inan was great in this game, hit 3 threes, kind of saw him struggling to shoot the 3 ball. But that he was shooting this many, it's going to come, because Gay's not going to let guys shoot threes that aren't good 3-point shooters. And then Moffmer, as mentioned, really bounced back in this one, but a 27-4 run at the end of the first half, end of the second half, and then Liberty just suffocating defense. I'm sure Charleston, this was probably their worst game of the year. So, like, you have to kind of always try to level your expectations a little bit, because I think it was Liberty was great, but I think it was also somewhat about Charleston, but just an overall great performance.
Yeah, but, Charleston hasn't had that many bad games, going back, it seems like a while now. But, this team was scoring, 90-some points per game, and we held them to 47. I mean, on their home court with a packed arena. So just incredible defense. I mentioned the Brazovic guy. I don't man, that guy is a really good player. And it wasn't like they were having to double team him. I mean, he was just, maybe a little bit of it was he was off, but Liberty just has an ability this year that they didn't have last year to get bodies on somebody, and different bodies, right? Like you can have Cleveland play him for a while and then, adjust and go to Aquino or, whoever it might be. So, man, it was just that was just the most fun game to watch. That second half, I think they didn't score, and 12 minutes later, they still hadn't scored or whatever it was. So that was just an awesome game. And I was expecting for you to want to do a podcast after that game.
Yeah, well, I had a sick kid that night. But yeah, I definitely wanted to talk about it right away. But yeah, I mean, just a huge win that is going to, I think, age incredibly well. I think Charleston's going to be a good team this year. Liberty jumped 20 spots in KenPom and 1 win, which is insane. That's how much they dominate. They were supposed to lose this game, and they win it by 21. Yeah, that's really remarkable.
And your boy Nick Lorenzen still did not put us in his top 25 rankings. I was looking for College Insider has us at 19. I know none of this really matters. It's just kind of fun for us to talk about and look at and kind of gauge where we are against other mid-majors. But Nick, you've been a guest with us before. Nick Lorenzen, that is. Come on, man. Do the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't think it's as egregious as ranking UTEP 5th with Liberty, but you know what? It's still I don't. All right, we're gonna have a quick word from Jason Porter, Real Estate, and then we'll be right back with the Naz.
Well, hey everybody, my name is Jason Porter. I'm with Legacy Realty and Development, and it's been a great partnership here with Sea of Red lately. I was with Liberty Athletics as the Associate Athletic Director for Sports Medicine, so took care of all of the healthcare needs and coordinated that with a fantastic staff at Liberty in the athletic department, of course, for about 5 or 6 years, and then moved into real estate full time and with Legacy Realty and Development. And it's just been a great pleasure to continue to stay connected with my Liberty University family and the athletics family as well. Been enjoying serving them. A lot of the graduate assistants and some of the staff that I hired has come back now and has been using me for residential services, which I really appreciate. But certainly do residential real estate as far as buying and selling of homes, of course. And then also we have a strong commercial presence as well. So commercial real estate, obviously a very, very different animal than is residential. But whether it's buying and selling commercial properties or just the leasing of properties, we can help with that as well. So it's been a great opportunity to service our commercial clients as well. And then certainly on the investment front too, a number of folks who have discovered the power of passive income through real estate and investing in real estate with rental properties or fix and flips, those kind of things. And so great joy to serve my clients in that capacity as well. The other thing that I would add too is just a very, very full Rolodex at this point of contractors and subs and just different professional contacts that I've made through the years. So if I can ever provide any of those folks to you and all of a sudden you need a plumber or an electrician or a contractor to build your deck, whatever, I'd certainly be glad to give you access to that Rolodex and those references as well, because a lot of times it's not exactly who you know, it's who you know that knows how to do the job well. And so I would be glad to provide those services for you as well. So love Flames Nation, love taking care of my Liberty family. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, my contact information is all right here on the screen. And I would love to be a service to you and yours. Thanks so much.
All right, we are joined by the legend, Paul Nazigan. Naz, it's so great to see you. We've only got to hear you one game on the broadcast, and it wasn't even a D1 team. What's going on?
Yeah, I know, just the schedule, but no, first of all, just great to be on with you guys, Nick and the Reverend, man. It's that time of year again. So, man, it's just, it's good to be on. I appreciate you having me. Yeah, just the schedule, not too many home games yet. And, I know you guys have talked about it. We talked about it before, trying to the Liberty getting games, they got to get them where they can get them. And so it seems like this front loaded tournaments, and some away games, but it's good for them. The Flames Nation's got to wait a little bit more until they get back home, but hey, off to a good start, right?
Yeah. Well, after this tournament, it's home, home. So we'll get our dose of Naz that we've been long waiting for. What's kind of your overall arching take on this team after a really good weekend? One game got away from them for Florida Atlantic, but still, I mean, the fact that they sent that game to overtime, I think you have to feel pretty good about what this team did.
Oh, feel really good about it, and it's one of those things when, before they headed down there, you're kind of like, oh, well, whatever happens is going to be good for the team. They're playing two tough opponents, but deep inside, you're kind of like, man, you want to get them both, and you certainly want to come back with one of them. And not only did they came back with one in glorious fashion, but even the one that got away, man, you were right there. Certainly could have won, and maybe even in some respects should have won. So, I feel really good about where they are, how they've been playing, what I've seen from them so far. Those were two really tough opponents. You guys were sort of talking about it already before that, but yeah, really pleased. But you leave there going, just more work to be done. So that's good. That's good. There's room for improvement.
Yeah. Naz, question. I know we spent a lot of time reviewing what happened down in Charleston, but let me go back to that Carolina game for a second when we beat the brakes off of a Carolina team for the first time ever. Scheduling those games, I've come to appreciate sometimes those games because you kind of get to see some new guys and, see some more minutes that you normally wouldn't. But I know that we always say it's hard for Liberty to get home games, but part of me feels like it's happened so long now that it's maybe a little bit of scheduling philosophy. What do you say about that?
I think it's a little bit of all of that. There was a time that I think, and just not too long ago, Liberty was kind of in a position to maybe get an at-large bid. And so, you got to be a little more creative with your scheduling and a little more strategic with your scheduling. Now I think you're kind of locked in to realize that, Conference USA, it's a one-bid league. And unless NCAA really expands, like there's continued talk about, you got to win the conference. And so, maybe now you can kind of get into some of these. They're in these tournaments are great. These games that they're going to play this weekend and just finished are really great. So you can sort of play a tougher schedule and not have to worry about your win-loss record. You could just sort of, let's just get ourselves better and really gear up to kind of win the conference. The other side of it is, everybody plays kind of those cupcakes for whoever they are. Even the big boys play their version of the cupcakes. And I know Coach McKay does it because if you look at who Liberty picks for those, oftentimes they're Christian colleges that he's reaching out to give them a little bit of a money package to come. help their kids come play in a great environment, get on Liberty's campus, certainly, believe, have that common faith. And so there's a little bit more to it, when Coach McKay and the staff kind of schedule some of those smaller games. It really gives those guys a chance to kind of use that game of coming to Liberty as a recruiting tool for them. And so it's kind of nice, the circle up prayer at the end means a little more when you got, a Christian school that almost, kind of aspires to maybe be one day where Liberty is. So yeah, those games are, there's a lot to it. The Carolina game really this year though was very strategic in that they came off those two tough games and they were on the road, not only, the Valpo game, but they're all the way on the West Coast in Seattle. They come back, you need a day of rest, you got jet lag, and then they were getting ready to head out to the Charleston tournament. So I think that was perfect. Matheny got to rest, and everybody got to play. The new guys got some minutes. So that really, I think, was a very well-scheduled game. They had a lot of fun, but a lot of guys got some valuable minutes that I think will pay off.
Yeah, a lot of this traveling may really help the team in Conference USA. We saw the first time how difficult that travel is across the country. They're going to be pretty well prepared just the way it worked out. And to your point, Naz, about the rotation for Florida Atlantic, McKay only played 8 players in that game. Didn't even play Decker in that game. Didn't play Gabriel McKay. So really kind of trimmed down that rotation. So kind of a good strategic spot to put that game to also keep the other guys engaged and all those kind of things.
For sure.
But something that kind of goes along with what you were saying, I know this from the day job. So Cincinnati played Northern Kentucky earlier this week. Northern Kentucky kind of gave them a run for a while. Long story, but Cincinnati signed a contract with Northern Kentucky. Northern Kentucky's in the Horizon League because they used their arena while their original arena was getting renovated. And the new coach, Wes Miller, who I know you guys know, from Carolina,
yes,
inherited this. And he legitimately in the post game said, "I will never play this game again. It does us no good." So McKay saying this, I was like, "Hey, he's not lying." He legitimately said, "I will never do this again. It benefits us nothing." These guys are, really, he credited them, but yeah, they're not doing that at all.
Yeah, and for the record, I've come to appreciate some of these games just for those reasons. And I think it's a great thing that when we do play those games, they are other Christian schools, get them a payday, kind of come together and almost like a fellowship almost of like-mindedness. But sometimes I just wish we would say what it is and not just, nobody will come and play us. I don't know, it's been a while since we've been in the tournament now. I think we could probably do a little bit more. I wish we would just say it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're right, but coaches are very superstitious, and they're just that scheduling. There's a lot more into it. They're just sort of they'll look years ahead and just when does that team graduate these guys, and then we'll maybe play them, and it's a tough thing to, and then you're trying to find dates and all that stuff to that matchup. So it's really tough, but yeah, a few more, D1s on there. I know the fans would love seeing more of that.
Yeah. Well, we'll just keep, beating teams by 40 and then praying at the end of the game with them. I mean, I think that's lovely. Let's talk about some of the newcomers, Naz. Owen Aquino. I mean, I love this guy. I mean, what a player. I mean, kind of feels like someone Liberty's never had. We were talking, I think the best comp to Owen Aquino is Zach Cleveland. I mean, in a Liberty uniform. I mean, what a start. Every game he's had an impact.
Yeah, for sure. And he's had scoring and rebounding impact. He's had block shots. Just his, when I kind of went over there this summer a little bit, man, you walk in the gym and it's like, man, this guy he's got a post player body. And so you like seeing that, man. He's strong and put together. And I just really, he gives us a facet of a guy that I just think you got to just give him some touches, just get a post touch right away and see what he can do with it. If and again, we kind of got used to seeing that. I mean, with Scotty, you'd go into just every time down, you just get him a touch, see what happens. If they don't double, then man, he would just go to work. And I think Aquino is like that. And again, that's not that's just the personnel, but last year it was a different group. You just couldn't really just get it there. You came a little bit more perimeter oriented and a lot more movement, but I think they can spread it out. They got guys around him that can spot up or, cut and let him operate. Cause by all accounts so far, he can do some damage down there, but in true Liberty fashion, he's a big that can pass. And so, I mean, he can get that ball, make reads that guys are cutting. We've seen some of that already, feeding the other big. And so, yeah, I'm with you. Aquino, man, he's one of the new guys. And, man, what we've seen already is great. And I think he's just going to keep getting better and feeling more comfortable.
La Bestia Española. That's what I've been calling him, the Spanish Beast. Naz, I know you guys have a segment, the NASDAQ report, where you're, who you're high on as far as mid-major basketball. But Aquino, obviously, you're high on. Is there any other guys, newcomers that, stock is rising there, a buy right now?
Man, I tell you, just like, I'm not just saying this because, we're Flames, but like, all the new guys have shown glimpses of the kind of players they are, the different unique skills they bring. You look at Enan and man, it's just, I just love these like lanky, long wingspan guys that are just out on the wing. I just sort of, and we've not had a whole lot of that. And I know he's, with 2 knee surgeries, I think he's still just sort of getting his legs under him. But the other night he's hitting 3 threes. I mean, he just moves really fluid. The other game he came from a weak side and just, wiped one off the glass. I mean, super athletic. So I think he's, shown what he could be. And again, like you see why he was, recruited to Minnesota. He's at that level. Moffmer, I don't know what you guys think. He just has that old man, old school kind of game. He's, it doesn't change his expression. He's just out there like taking care of business defensively. In the Seattle game, whatever that guy, Christopoulos, man, he was just going, he was on fire, and he kind of, Matheny, I think just didn't quite have the length to get the hand in his face. And those last couple possessions, they switched Moffmer on him, and that length bothered him, and he didn't get another shot. And, they sealed the victory. But he's a guy, has had a couple great halves, where he's come out really explosive. One game was the first half, the other was the second. So he's showing his scoring and just looks really comfortable too. Talon Peter, his athleticism, and some other times he's come in and just, fresh off the bench, and he just sticks a couple threes. So like all the guys, you can see sort of why Coach McKay went after them. You can see what they bring. But I guess if I had to say like what's most impressive is how they've all just sort of committed to like, I'm just throwing my skills on the table, coach. And whatever minutes it calls for, whatever, we've seen some of this, and then coach has done this in the past. Like there'll be nights where certain guys play a lot of minutes because of the scouting report. And other guys, it may be your night that's you're riding the bench a little bit more, but it seems like from what we've seen and heard from those guys, they're all in, and it shows they're very capable. And it's like this arsenal that, coach, depending on who we're playing, I think he's got a nice, he's got some extra depth down there too, as well as kind of a nice repertoire of skills.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. I mean, I think that's a great point. Like the instant buy-in from a bunch of transfers that had no association with Liberty University a couple months ago. And I mean, this team almost is unselfish to maybe a slight, almost a fault at times. Like I feel like Cleveland maybe was a little too passive early, and then boy, against Charleston, just unleashed. And I don't know if someone got in his ear or what, but he was just when he was that aggressive. I mean, they had no answer for him.
Yeah, Nick, I agree with you. They seem ahead of their time with the trust factor, and you mentioned it. Like there's a lot of new guys that I don't remember. There's always 4 or 5 new faces, but guys that were coming in knowing they're going to play a lot of minutes. So in that regard, it is kind of new for Liberty. But guys that not only are willing to share the ball, but to share it and trust some of these new guys. Like it's one thing if you're late in a possession and you're asking Matheny to trust Cleveland. Well, those guys have been playing together for a while, but we've seen these guys make the extra pass to a new guy, Enan in the corner the other night, hitting a couple big threes. So they're unselfish. They trust each other. And so that shows that behind the scenes, that's a team that's working together and having fun together and accepting each other and just, putting it all together in the pot, saying, hey, whatever it takes to win. But yeah, it's fun to watch that. So, that I'm still a little bit like they really look like what all of us have come to expect from Liberty basketball, like so quickly, like sharing the ball and unselfishness and, great assist numbers on the night, low turnovers, the 3s to 2s kind of ratio is like very quickly it's come together to look very familiar, and familiar is good because Liberty's rattled off multiple 20-win seasons year after year. So off to a great start. The guys just seem like, I don't know what the process is. Like I can tell you it's extensive. I know that at any recruiting process, but to not only to find good players, because the portal's deceiving, guys that sort of seem like they're marketed, like sometimes they're not as good. There's a lot of guys in there. So you got to find the talent, you got to find the fit. And I really believe Coach McKay and the staff have done both of those. They've got talent and they've got some great guys that fit the system and fit the university. And everything I've seen has been really, really positive.
Yeah, Coach McKay may have some colleagues calling him up at the end of the season if this keeps up to kind of see if they can bottle up some of that magic. But you're right. I mean, think about this team. I mean, we've got some returners in Colin, Caden, his second year, Cleveland. But really, like this team for 5 or 6 years, it feels like has been the Kyle Rowe team. And he's not there anymore, right? And so I feel like McKay has done an unbelievable job of like getting some new players, maybe the most he's ever had at one time, and getting them to gel so quickly in the non-conference. And just prayers up that it keeps going up.
Yes, and here's what's interesting, because sometimes we get so focused on kind of the here and now, and you're like, oh well, we brought these guys in that are playing, that we're seeing, Aquino and Enan and Mothmer, but you also brought in kind of the next wave of guys. And so you saw some of that. Like, he brought in guys that needed a little extra time and are going to be able to get that, Decker and Caillou and, some of the guys, from last year that are just, have shown that they're going to be good, but they still maybe need another year. And so they're going to be easing in, getting some minutes here and there. So it was, again, a great offseason. I mean, you got guys that are just instant impact, but you also got some guys that are waiting in the wings for their turn. That's what it takes. I mean, that's the landscape nowadays. You got to have some instant help, and but it's going to be a lot of turnover. So you got to have guys ready in the wings too. And we've seen some of that. Curtis Blair, some of these guys that are just on the cusp of kind of their coming out party. So it'll happen soon enough.
All right, one more question from me. One more question from me, Naz, before we'll move on and talk about this tournament coming up. The defense was obviously on full display against Charleston. I think Charleston probably also had a bad offensive game if we're being fair, but the defense was definitely there. But it's really been there all year for Liberty. 4 of the 5 games they've held their opponent below 1 point per possession. The only one that wasn't was Florida Atlantic, which was just barely over 1, and it was actually their worst offensive performance of the year. Liberty right now ranks 40th in KenPom in defense. Looking at taking that, and that includes some preseason data, so it's maybe even a little inflated. They're actually 25th if you take out any of that. This was a team that was 180th last year. I feel like the defense really kind of got away from Liberty in Conference USA play. Feels like it's very early. You don't want to overreact to the first 5 games of the year, but definitely feels like this is more of that vintage Liberty defense that when you couple that with, this incredible offensive efficient program that McKay's built can really go quite a ways.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up, Nick. Right, because for as great as the offense looked, Coach will be mad at us if we don't talk about defense here. So, but that's another, and you guys know, and we all know because we follow Liberty and know that that's not a defense you just walk into and just go, okay, just guard your own. It's a system. It's reads and knowing your teammate, and I can be here because I know my guy over there's got my back, and there's positional movements, and so for as good as the offense has looked and the guys blending and unifying and good chemistry, that defense looks weeks ahead of probably where I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Some good individuals, and we talked about, guys that have more athleticism. The teams, had more wingspan and length and getting in passing lanes, but they've really worked together as a unit. And you felt that in that Charleston game. And really, here's the thing, even both games, FAU was, they're averaging in the 90s before we played them. And we played the game in the 70s. That was us dictating pace and controlling that game. And same thing with Charleston. They're a high scoring offense. Berzovich was leading the nation in scoring. And so, and as a team, but again, we dictated the pace. And then that defense was, it was classic, just good old days, get a stop, score. And you didn't, you just felt the, Kem Wright used to describe it as the boa constrictor, he used to talk about little by little, it just squeezes you and you think you're okay. You're like, oh, we're only down 6, and then a couple more possessions. Next thing you look up and you're down 12 and then 18, and you're like, what in the world happened? And so you just felt that they just could not get any momentum, and our defense just, getting steals and rebound, one and dones and going down and kind of feeling that energy to score. And the run was on, and man, they had no answer. And so, defensively built, and again, even in the loss, again, you're talking about a team in FAU that had, you guys saw it, size and athleticism and sharpshooters, that Nicoletti kid and Leland, the penetrator, the big European kid. They had it all. That is a really solid team. And, Liberty was there leading for a good portion of the way, fighting down, with a shot to win it in regulation and then a couple looks in overtime. They're right there. So I thought about this, we saw Kiki Tandy, member from Jacksonville State last year, led Conference USA in scoring, right? He's over there at FAU now, plays 13 minutes, didn't even score. That's the kind of team they have where he's not even really impacting them. And so great job. You're right. That defense, even in the loss, is tough. It's guys have bought in. And again, as they continue to play this weekend included, that's going to get more refined and get better.
Yeah. And blocks too. A lot of blocks against 9 blocks against Charleston Southern. I don't know, Kirby, I was actually going to ask you, where does this rank as far as kind of in your mind defensively? I know you're going to bring us back down to life and say that they didn't have a good shooting night, but let's just hypothetically say, where does this rank as maybe one of Liberty's best defensive performances?
Well, it didn't get up on any records. We don't have any any top. There's a KenPom has a thing where you can see the top 10 performances.
Yeah.
So we don't have anything yet from this year that's hit that, because I always check that after every game to see if there's any new record. It's a tradition at this point. But no, I mean, it was. I mean, when you're talking 0.7 points per possession, I mean that's usually what you do to the non D1 schools. I mean that's legitimately the level. I mean that's about what Carolina had against Liberty. They had a little less. So yeah, I mean, I think that Charleston probably also just missed some shots that would have made it a little more respectable. But I still think Liberty's defense performed well enough, even if Charleston shot how they normally do, to win with ease. So I think you always got to kind of think. I always think you have to look a little bit of both, because I always try to say, if I was in Charleston's perspective, how would I feel about this game? Like, we just shot terrible. That's how I would feel. So, I try to always do that, and kind of helps you try to, I don't know, kind of get through a year and not have your expectations go too high or too down. But yeah, I mean, I everything so far from Liberty is just, I mean, this team's already jumped up like 30 spots in the rankings, and that's quite a big leap this early in the year.
Yeah, and again, the record's nice, but just it's all gearing up to kind of get ready for conference play. So yeah, I mean, it's great to be 4-1. It's better than being 1-4 and learning some lessons. So, but yeah, I just, there's things coming out of all those games of let's find the successes and grow on those, but there's things to work on still. And you got a group that really senses that wants to be better, that knows what hard work is all about, knows what to expect in the next month when conference starts. So you got a group that's hungry and still working.
Yeah. Naz, real quick, how excited are you about next year when this tournament, this showcase, whatever they call it, the Field of 68, comes to Lynchburg?
Well, I don't know that we're going to get to call it. So I think that's, the Field of 68, kind of is a thing, and we'll probably
get you on radio, right?
I don't know, Alan. Alan and Jason do a great job with that. They've got that nailed down. We'll do something. Me and Matt will be up in the concourse, or up in the crow's nest doing some live something. I don't know, but no, I kid. But it's great. It's this thing when 3 years ago or 2 years ago when we saw the kind of the 3-year round robin thing, that was great because Will, to your point, a few years ago we were looking for games. They were really hard to come by, and so they jumped into this thing. So yeah, bringing those two teams to Lynchburg will be a great environment. I expect it to be. It's funny, like when Liberty and FAU played, it was kind of empty, in the arena there. On Charleston's nights, it was full, but I kind of feel like you bring those two teams to Lynchburg, I think people will come out, all 3 nights. But it'll be great to get them at home and again see what. It's just great competition. So,
yeah, I couldn't believe there wasn't a few more people at that game. This is like a high-level college basketball game that I'm sure tickets weren't expensive for.
Yeah, I was a little surprised too. But so it'll be great to have them. And again, they've got a couple good tests coming up this weekend down there in the Virgin Islands.
All right. Well, speaking of the Virgin Islands, just real quick, want to get your thoughts, Naz, on this tournament, and then we'll let you go. Appreciate your time as always. Liberty, the top team in KenPom now coming in. Liberty was like 25 spots below Kansas State, but has passed them just barely. Liberty 73, Kansas State 75. But a tournament that is going to be, Naz, I think, really good competition. The Liberty actually, the first team they play in Louisiana is the worst team in terms of KenPom ranking in the whole tournament. Everyone else is above 200. So what's your thoughts on this tournament? Pretty cool event for Liberty to get in, and also kind of nice that there's not some just absolute juggernaut in this tournament either.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Great tournament. The guys will, have a great time, great location, and then that's good for them, kind of a time away from the court. But yeah, the field is really good on both sides. Yeah, the draw for Liberty is good. I think at the time when this was coming together, I know Louisiana, lost an important piece in the transfer portal over the summer, but yeah, they were, the other at the Carolina game there, Coach Johnston or Coach Pierre, they'll usually come over to us and talk with us a little bit. They're always kind of gracious before the games. And we were just shooting the breeze a little bit. And Coach Johnson had already started kind of looking at Louisiana on some film and doing some scouting and things like that. And, he's just like, he just said they're just a solid, like a Conference USA team. Big, got some bruisers and some athleticism. Maybe it hasn't kind of translated into wins for them, but he's like, that'll be a good test. And then from where it goes from there, Kansas State, kind of maybe a little bit down from what people might know about Kansas State and George Washington. So yeah, like, again, here's another situation where you're going to go down there, and if you compete hard, you're going to come out of there a better team. Hopefully they can, it's really cool because they could win all three. And whatever combination, you just want to play well, want to play hard, and play Liberty basketball, tough D, sharing the ball. I fully expect we'll see all that. And if the shots are falling, it could be a really, really productive weekend.
Well, Naz, really appreciate your time as always. Looking forward to hearing you on the call all year. And yeah, thanks for coming on with us today.
Yeah, appreciate it. Anytime, guys. You guys do a great job for Liberty basketball, and I enjoy listening to you. And yeah, I'll come back anytime. You let me know.
All right, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll have a quick word from Flames Rising, and we'll be right back. Some final thoughts here.
Hey, Flames Nation, this is Kyle Rode.
This is Rachel Root.
This is Kaden Salter.
We would just want to say thank you for supporting athletes like us through the Flames Rising Collective.
The Flames Rising Collective is a registered 501c3, providing opportunities for student athletes to use their name, image, and likeness while serving our local community.
100% of everything contributed to the collective will go directly to creating name, image, and likeness opportunities for Liberty student athletes.
Help us be champions for Christ and champions on the field. Flames.
All right, Flames Rising, sponsored by Owen Aquino. All right, so I got a whole bunch of notes, Will, on this tournament. If you're watching, this is the stadium. So I mean, it's a pretty legit. It looks. I try to describe it to you as a really nice high school gym. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah,
it's the University of Virgin Islands arena. That's the that's where it's at. So all the games are on ESPN
University
Plus.
There.
Yeah, all the games are on ESPN Plus the whole way. So you'll be able to find them on there. Should be pretty easy for Liberty fans, who I'm sure at this point are pretty familiar with ESPN Plus if they want to watch any games. But Will, I got some notes here, as I always do. I'll talk about Louisiana here in a second. But I kind of ran through. So Kansas State, they were 43 in KenPom preseason, but they've fallen below Liberty to 75, lost by 11 at home to LSU, and they have failed to cover the spread in all 4 games. So they're certainly coming into this tournament. I'm sure if there was a betting line, they probably would be the favorite barely. Liberty would clearly, I think, be second. But I'm sure they're coming in with something to prove. But they were picked 8th out of 16th in a absolutely loaded Big 12. So if you're picked 8th in the Big 12, you're a pretty good team. The other possible opponent for Liberty in the second round, George Washington. They are 4-0, but they haven't played anyone inside the KenPom top 250. So they are going to get a wake-up call when they play Kansas State in the late game on Friday. McNeese, sneaky good team. They only lost by 8 at Alabama. Lost by 7 against a solid South Dakota State team in South Dakota. Just beat North Texas, who's number 76. So that's a really good team. They still coach by I'm drawing a blank. The LSU coach that got fired, Will Wade. I don't know if they are or not. Are they still
I don't know.
I guess I could know that, but I don't know. Anyways,
they're
they're
Google machine.
Yeah, they're a rolling program right now. UAB, they're 2-2 in D1 games, lost on the road to not our High Point. Not our High Point, Big South High Point. This High Point team right now is really good. They're got a program that's rolling right now. Longwood's 5-0, but they haven't played anyone inside the top 200. And then Illinois State 3-1, nice win over a solid Ohio U team at home. So before we talk about Louisiana, any kind of overarching thoughts about this tournament, kind of the way it shakes out for you, Will?
Yeah. I kind of looked up. I was surprised that this has been going on since 2001, and there's a lot of pedigree. It started off with a lot of like P4 programs, and over the years, a lot of mid majors have been added to it. But NAS kind of said it. Like my first impression of this tournament was a lot of games that could potentially look like Conference USA games for us. Below us in KenPom or up to us in the instance of K-State. So, I remember K-State from back when, if you remember, Michael Beasley was like the big name at Kansas State. So, that was a fun team to watch. And I really, haven't been on my radar too much since then. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I was going to say with Naz was on, but in the NASCAR podcast, Scar said, he hopes Liberty moves to the right of the bracket and not to the left. And my first thought was, well, if we move to the left in anything, Jerry Falwell said we could burn the school down. So, but no, we definitely want to get past Louisiana. That would, that after, following up to a Charleston game, you don't want to lose to Louisiana.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to play a lot of, really quality opponents because you're probably going to play Kansas State in game 2, win or lose. I mean, that's great experience for you. That's your premier game that we wanted, right? I mean, there it is. If you win, you're probably going to get the premier game. And then even if you get to that, whether you win or lose against Kansas State, you're either playing the championship game or the third place game. So you're going to be playing a team that's won some games. So it's probably one of the better teams. And that's good. Personally, I would be really thrilled because if you keep winning, the games are at 9:00 at night, which is exciting for me. Kids are asleep. I can sit back and really just lock in and enjoy the game. But Friday, 6:30, Louisiana. If they win, they play on Sunday. They get a day off on Saturday. If they lose, they have to play on Saturday. So if they win, they play on Sunday. If they lose, they play on Saturday. And then everyone plays on Monday. We'll see how that shakes out. Excited to have it on ESPN Plus. This is a tournament that's been on a lot of like Flow hoops and other things like that. So pretty cool that this is on ESPN Plus and we don't have to go searching for it. And so hopefully should be pretty good. Louisiana, this is a team that is not off to a good start. They have lost all three of their Division I games, and they haven't really been competitive, Will. I mean, they lost by Rice by 22 points. I won't hold Houston against them. Everyone gets absolutely dominated by Houston, but team they play, like, these are all top 150 teams, but they haven't won one yet. So they are coming in a little bit desperate. First ever meeting against Louisiana. Louisiana has started 1-4 since 2010-11. So it's a team that you look at like this is a team Liberty should win, and they should win with ease. But you are playing in a different gym. We've seen these tournaments. It's a weird feel. Teams struggle to kind of get their feet under them in these first games, so that always makes you nervous. And you're playing a team that comes in, pretty desperate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, on paper, looks like we should take care of business, but man, it's always hard to say that this early in the season, as you said, in a different place. A team that in Louisiana that certainly has underperformed, but you kind of take that Houston game out of the equation, like you said. I expect to win, but again, with it being so early in the season, wouldn't be surprised if something crazy happens.
Yeah, they and like a lot of other teams, they have 2 players in their starting lineup that are transfers. One of their players I'm gonna butcher this poor guy's name, Mustafa El Muda Keel, I think is how you say it. He was fifth in junior college in scoring last year, 25 points a game. Obviously, we saw Aquino, how well he's transferred over, so he's a player to watch. They also have a guy that I guess is coming off their bench, a freshman that was a 4-star prospect, Jeremiah Evans. So obviously, 4-star prospect at a school like Louisiana, obviously a guy you got to watch, could come out and have his coming out party in this game. But yeah, I mean, this is a game that I think we'll kind of get to see, how, I don't know the word, I don't want to say bought in, but this is the kind of game, you're the top dog. You've worked so hard to kind of prove that you're, back in a way, right? I mean, move yourself up to the top 75 in KenPom. This is the kind of game you don't really want to give it all back, because if you lose this game, even if you lose this game close, you'll give a lot of that back. And also just are going to play a lot of games the rest of the tournament. They're going to be lose-lose. I mean, you're going to play games that you're going to have to win by a decent margin just to kind of maintain your rankings and all of that. And I mean, I know in some ways, yes, it is silly this time of the year to really be too worried about that. But when you get to the end of the year, they're going to count all those up and everything it did for your efficiency. And, if you're fortunate enough to win the Conference USA tournament, it's going to be the difference of being a 12 seed or a 14 seed, which is a pretty big deal in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. I mean, we're not talking about Liberty being a bubble team here. That when they list the resume of teams that first in and first out, we are strictly just talking about what kind of seed you would be looking at, and a loss here kind of bumps that down a little bit. I would think.
I hear what you're saying, and I hear what Naz is saying, and maybe I'm just on the Liberty Kool-Aid tonight. You go win this tournament. If Liberty wins this tournament, and the NCAA tournament started right after, Liberty would be in as an at-large team. So I mean, they would still have to maintain that for the rest of the season. And your margin for error when you're not playing, you're playing teams outside of Louisiana Tech that are all outside the top 100 is very slim. I don't know. It seems
takes are getting hot.
It seems far-fetched to think this team could be an at-large team. But if they start rolling and racking up a bunch of wins, teams do it every year.
Yeah, man, you got some hot takes here tonight. I see what you're saying. You go something crazy like 30-4 and losing the conference championship game for sure. I understand that. But I don't know. I just don't see it happening.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Florida Atlantic became.
But I like it. Hey, let's try it and see what happens. So
yeah. Oftentimes though, like Indiana State last year, they were like 38th in KenPom and got left out. Like that's
obviously things are going to have to fall, in a certain way in different conferences, with championship games and things like that. So I feel like it's a long shot, but I hear you. I like the optimism, Kirby.
Until they're out of the at-large conversation, I'm not going to roll it out. I'm not going to roll it out because there at some point, I don't know when it's going to be, but at some point Liberty is going to be in the at-large conversation, and they could do it in Conference USA, but they're going to have to be dominant in Conference USA. And we were close. I mean, like Liberty was pretty close that Lipscomb year. I mean, they were a 12 seed, so like you're not that far. What 11 seed is usually in at-large, right?
Yeah, it's just funny to me that we're 5 games in and you're like at-large, baby.
Hey, I've never rolled
like
it
it's
out.
you saying this and not me. Like that's the funny thing to me. So
I'm never ruling it out. Conference USA, Louisiana Tech, they're the top dogs with Liberty. They've looked really good. Middle Tennessee's been really impressive so far. Other than that, not a whole lot of big takeaways. Been a lot of, either the team was like New Mexico State was playing a really good Dayton team and got their Blakes thrown in, or they're playing non-D1 teams. So not a whole lot going on in CUSA, but we'll continue to track it well. And I don't know. I'm excited about this weekend. I'm nervous about tomorrow though. Tomorrow's the one. Like, I'm just nervous about tomorrow because if you lose tomorrow, it ruins the whole weekend, right?
I mean, not for me. I mean, like, I understand what you're saying, but like, I mean, still a weekend with Liberty basketball is better than no weekend with Liberty basketball. So, I moved past football at this point after some bad losses. So, I know John and Chad and Richie Longshots would not want me to say that on a Sea of Red podcast, but I've kind of moved on from it, and like, I'm just all in on basketball. So I'm just excited for a weekend of basketball.
We're an hour in. No one listens this far. Except for Nicholas.
Except for
shout out to you, my man.
Shout out to Nicholas Lewis for sticking with us.
Yeah, I mean, look, Liberty would have to go like something crazy. They would have to go like 32-5 to be there. But hey, it's possible. You never know. You never know. I think this is the best team in Liberty history. So I'm just
there it is.
There it is. All right.
Send your hate tweets to ASOR Vines Palm.
A question for you, Will. Any idea how the baseball team is looking this year?
No. I mean, I know that they underperformed last year according to expectations, but Nicholas, I don't know if you're on the X or the Twitter, but follow at Rise With Us. He is the guy for all things Liberty baseball. I think he had a post about some transfer guys that have coming in that are supposed to be kind of highly regarded, but they've got a new coach this year. So I don't know. But I'm always ready for any kind of baseball season. So
yeah, well, the baseball season is life. I wish I could follow Liberty and do my day job, but it's not possible. I have to cut it off when basketball season ends if I want to stay, married. But all right. Well, this has been a pleasure as always. Try to come on maybe next week, recap this tournament, and probably take a little bit of a break. There's not a whole lot of big games until Conference USA, but we'll come back at some point before Christmas, and can you follow this team and their at-large hopes, right, Will?
That's right.
All right. Well,
hey, shout out to I know he's not watching it, but Nikita Koloff. He's my new best friend, wrestling legend, former tag team partners with Dusty Rhodes. I did his podcast this morning, so I'll send the link out for the Man Up show with Nikita Koloff coming up here probably sometime after the first of the year.
Look at our guy. He's turning into a superstar. He's
humble brag here.
Superstar. I love it. All right, brother. Well, for Jason Porter Real Estate, check out Jason Porter Real Estate, all your real estate needs for Ironclad Coffee. Flames rising. This is Nick. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night. Go Flames.